This podcast is brought to you by StarCharge, the largest EV charging manufacturer in the world, and is also a provider of residential and commercial battery storage and microgrid solutions. And Kempower, the reliable, quick, and scalable EV charging solutions for everyone and everywhere. Hello and welcome back to the Out of Spec podcast. I'm your host, Francie, and today I am joined by our friend Tollak, aka Charge Positive. Thank you for hopping on the podcast today. How's it going?
It's going good. Just getting out there, doing some videos, and ready for a road trip and some time off.
Nice. Are you road tripping soon?
Hopefully. Where yet? I'm not sure. I'm trying to not burn out the rest of my battery warranty. So
right. It all starts with the dream, but then reality comes into play. So yeah, we're going to talk about a pretty unique experience that you have had, Tollak, and a unique experience in the EV space. I would say that is not only one, but two battery pack replacements that you've gone through with your one EV, your Model Y, and that is pretty dramatic. This is a worry of EV ownership, which is okay, but like, what happens when the battery pack fails? And it's a huge also naysayer notion and fear that you have lived a real life example of. So let's dive in. Tollak, what on earth are you doing to your Model Y to make it fail? What's going on here?
Well, according to the technicians, there's nothing that I've done specifically to make these packs fail. So if you haven't seen the video over on Out of Spec Guide, I've done two on my Model Y. There's a 100,000 mile update. And then the one that we're basically piggybacking off here is recently I did a video talking about my two battery failures and replacements that were done under warranty. So after you watch this, go watch that video. I get into in depth of the whole story, recounting that. But basically around 40,000 miles, my first original pack died. And then I had a replacement, and 20,000 miles, that pack also had pretty much the exact same code and issue, and it died. So I'm now on my third pack, about almost 60,000 miles after that. So I'm about 4.5 left with my current, the original battery warranty of 120,000 miles.
Wow. Okay. So let's back up here. You bought a Model Y, and let's start with the specs there too. So tell me, what battery did your Model Y start out with? What's the battery chemistry there?
So originally it's a long range dual motor Model Y, which originally had 326. I think they now ship new with 330.
Okay.
I don't know if I ever got the update to go up to that, or if that was just the later packs got 330. But on paper, mine had 326. And when you look at my, so I used TesLab, and about a month after I got that, I've had data of what's the estimated full charge. And it doesn't mean I've fully charged to get these points. That was another thing in the video. A lot of people were commenting saying like, oh, you full charged that many times, of course. So the little green dots on my charge graph are estimations based on the app. So anyway, so my first pack, it shows pretty steady for probably a good 6 months to almost a year, and then it starts to come down, and then it tanks. So my original pack was 326. After a while, I was reading 315, 316, and I would check it somewhat regularly. But then when you start noticing that it's reading 305, 301, 295 within like a span of a week or two, that is alarming, because even if you have degradation, it would have a somewhat, not even steep decline in the beginning, but you would gradually decline, and then it would level off. This was sort of the opposite. I had like really good, I was taking, for all I knew, I was taking pretty good care of my battery based on the indications of the range. And then it just had this sharp 2-week downturn to where it was like, I think it finally read like 260 on a full charge within like 2 to 3 weeks of the original, or the more normal readings. And so that was when it threw codes, and it actually got to the point where I couldn't charge it. I had about 40% charge one day, and I tried to plug in at home, wouldn't charge. Tried a supercharger, wouldn't. So I'm like, okay, it's going to run out of battery soon. I have to go schedule service. So that's when I went to the first replacement.
So 40,000 miles in, you start to notice that it's not acting normal. The battery is not charging like it's supposed to, but you're not supercharging it all the time to 100, right?
No. So in the video, I talk about how I do rideshare, but I'm not a full-time rideshare driver. I do other things. I go on road trips. I do my commuting around town. So I was probably averaging maybe 150 miles a day, sometimes 200. And probably every other lift shift I would do, I would supercharge like on a lunch break to get, from like 45% back up to 80, just so that I would always be ready to have like a, in case I got a long run, I wanted to be able to accept a long drive without having to turn that down. But I would not often, in fact, pretty rarely would I go to 100. In fact, it wasn't until I was trying to balance the pack that I would actually go to a supercharger and try to let it literally top balance, where you sit there and it's sitting at 2 kilowatt for like half an hour, and then it goes to 1 kilowatt, and it finally says fully charged after like an hour sitting at 100. Because it's trying to top balance the pack so that you can have a truly full pack. But I didn't really do that until I was trying to actually save the pack. I most of the time I charged about 80, sometimes 90, in terms of supercharging at home. So here's the other thing: when I was charging at home, which my Tesla graph shows, I've only done about 60. I think it's like 64% of 2022 I charged at home, and then like it's even more higher percentage this year. But this year I didn't have a replacement. Anyway, so most of my charging has been at home. So it's not like, there's a lot of people out there that they primarily fast charge.
Yeah, so you are noticing these trends. You take, you're a knowledgeable EV driver. You're not trying to, you're doing things to actively not degrade the battery or take good care of it. So when you started to see these codes and this, the degradation in the performance of the battery, you did think, hey, this isn't normal, obviously. So then these error codes started popping up. You couldn't charge it. And you're like, okay, I have to take it in to Tesla. It's not AC charging. It's not DC charging. And then what happened next? What did Tesla do to help you?
Well, so I was under warranty, and by the time I took it in, you had two codes, A066 and A064 under BMS category. And the technician was like, the first time around, they were like, we got to keep it for a day to check it out, even though I'm pretty sure on his screen it was basically saying, he's going to need a new pack. So I take it there in the morning. I think it's a Monday morning. They they give me the whole thing. I leave it with them. I ask for a loaner because even though I'm not ride sharing, I still have to get to my other work. And I ended up getting a loaner later that day. And they, I think it was later that day or the next day, I got a message in the app that says, you in fact do need a new pack. We've ordered one. It should be here in 2 to 4 weeks. And then luckily, it actually, a week to the day, they basically said, your new pack is here. We're putting it in. And then 2 days later, after they had let it do a full, calibration or something like that, I got it back on the next Wednesday. So it was 9 days I was without my car. Luckily, I did have a loaner Model 3. I couldn't work rideshare, but I could get to my other jobs.
Okay, that's good. I love it when they give you a timeline that is way longer than what is actually lived because, yeah, like you said, you drive Lyft, and also, just being without your mode of transportation, no matter who you are, for that long, and not really also knowing what's going to happen with it is pretty stressful. So it sounds like they addressed it, their communication was good, and then, okay, the fix. What exactly did they do? It's under warranty. Did they give you just a brand new battery? Did they diagnose it then and there? Where did the old pack go?
So what was explained to me the first time I got my car back, and I started asking these same questions to the technician, and so I was asked, so what is it? Is it a new pack? And so they told me that this is literally the story that not the technician, the advisor, the service advisor told me. Basically, your new pack comes in on a flatbed, your old pack goes on that one, it goes back to Fremont, and they pull it apart and see they do like the forensics things back at Fremont. That's what was told to me. If that's actually what's happening, I don't have any documentation of that because that pack is long gone. The one that came in, I was told is, you have a new pack. And so I didn't get a really good answer of what my warranty was like after my first replacement. But it turns out, basically the car has a battery warranty of 8 years on the long range, 8 years, 120,000 miles. The service advisor kind of made it seem like this new battery had a fresh 8 8-year 120, which I would have been like, great. You know, it's like a new lease on life. We're like, whoa, let's go, you know. And then it wasn't until, later on, so like a week after I had the battery, it actually threw a code. I went to a club event with Tesla Club SoCal, and there was a Tesla employee that was hanging out with that drive. And I was like, oh my God, I just got my car back and it's throwing this code at me. That was the only time I got the code in the beginning of the second pack. So I let him look at my VIN. He said, oh, this basically means that your pack is out of balance. And so I was kind of familiar with the techniques, because when my first pack went bad, I was trying to find I was on every forum, like trying to find, how do I save this? How do I save this? And so I was familiar with those techniques, even though they didn't work with the first pack, because it in fact was faulty. So I then tried to do some of those techniques after getting the second battery, and for, about 20,000 miles, it appeared to be fine, but my graph kind of went like this, and then went like this, and then so right around 60,000 miles in the car, 20,000 on the pack, happened again. And this is with me actively trying to do what's good for the battery. I was trying to supercharge almost never, which, when you road trip, you still have to supercharge. I did what I could, and it's the second pack still just went. So
yeah, I mean, what are the odds? You get the same error code. It's like 6 months later. You're like, it can't be the same problem. Like, had you heard of anyone else having this issue with even just one battery failure?
Other people told me that, one is rare, had happened. One of the people was hanging out with that Tesla employee who actually had a pack very early on. He's currently at 190,000 miles. So if we think Kyle's car with 142 is impressive, we should check into Zach's 190, because he tracks his car and he supercharges the 100 quite frequently. And his pack, he has degradation, but it's not failed. So, but yeah, I was doing what I could, and it still failed. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And so, yes, everybody I tell this story to is like, they're astonished. They're like, oh my God, you've had 2 failures? Like, what are the odds?
It's like, Tollak, what are you not telling me? There must be something else to the story. But that is really just some bad luck. And you're actively trying to maintain the battery. You are doing your research. You're talking to experts. Like, you're doing what you're supposed to do. So is it really just bad luck?
From what I've been told. So your previous question, you asked if I knew someone who had 2. I do know of at least one other person who is on their third pack as well.
Okay.
But they have, I don't fully know their charging habits, and they have done more with their 12-volt system, but it's unclear if that has something to do with that, because the BMS is in the pack. So it's not like the BMS is in the car controlling the battery. From what I'm told, the BMS is in the pack, and it's only when it disconnects from the car while it's sleeping that it actually actively tries to balance the pack. But it does take a long time, and I regularly try to put my car through at least 8, 12, 16-hour sleep sessions to make sure that I'm nowhere near the car. I've turned off Bluetooth. I don't have Sentry mode on. There's all these techniques you can look up. So.
Man, I wish I was your car, getting put into all these long sleep sessions. But I was wondering how you put it to sleep. So it's basically making sure that nothing is running on the back end, that the car is not functioning whatsoever.
Yeah, I got to make sure that your app is not pinging the car. Like, don't close out your Tesla app so it doesn't even try to say hi to the car. In Tesla, there's an actual setting. It says deep sleep assist. So you turn that on so Tesla doesn't try to contact the car either to get data through the API and all that sort of stuff. Nice.
Yeah, you have to put it in like a tinfoil hat, basically.
Yeah, which I wish there was just a manual button. Sleep, actively. I want to balance my pack. Put a balance mode on the car.
That would be cool. I wonder if they've considered that, and because I feel like the Tesla team does consider a lot of things. So why that wouldn't have been implemented quite yet, or just an easier way to get there, especially if we're considering, that you're running an EV. It's got different battery systems than a regular ICE, of course. So how to best manage that. Was the experience the second time around any different with Tesla?
Well, my experience was it's a little traumatizing, because it was literally the same code. And as I said in the video, it was kind of PTSD. I'm like, oh no, I was triggered. I was like, nope, not again. So I did not wait until it wouldn't take a charge. I was like, I scheduled the earliest appointment I could. And it was at a different service center, but it was pretty much the same timeline. You know, I took it in, they quoted me 2 to 4 weeks. We've ordered a pack, and it was literally almost exactly a week and a day or two the second time. What kind of sucked the second time was it happened right before Fully Charged Live event in San Diego, and I was there with the San Diego Tesla Club, and just and I was picking up people that were going to Fully Charged Live, and I couldn't pick them up. I did pick them up in my loaner, but it just wasn't the same. So I'm glad to have had a loaner. So the experience was good that they were able to get me a loaner, but it was this big bummer that I'm like at this big event celebrating and promoting EVs, and guess what? My car's in for its second pack. So I didn't really talk about it much at that event because I was kind of like
a little bummed
just
about
get through this.
But it's also it is an interesting part of it. Like we like to cover all experiences, right? Like it's no experience is fully good or fully bad. So, but yours is unique. Was this the Fully Charged event last year?
Yeah, it was September 2022, literally about 6 months after my first one. And, Kyle was there, the whole team.
I was there. That's where I met Kyle.
That's actually right. Oh, yeah. I went by the EVgo. But wait, was EVgo there?
Yeah, we were there. Okay. That's why I was there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, how we have crossed paths, and look at us now. So are you expecting, knock on wood, a third failure?
I'm really hoping not for one. It's like this dual thing. You try not to look at it because you don't want to be consumed with like hyper checking your mileage every day. And mileage fluctuates. Yes, it does. But when you start seeing a steep incline, you're like, oh no. So since I've recorded my video, there's been a little bit of a dip. It kind of, with the calculation. So Tesla will do a calculation if you charge up to 90% and you've charged at least 25% of the pack. So that's how it gets a reading of being able to estimate a full charge. So lately, I've actually been charging it to 60%. I'm just trying to let it sit in the middle of the pack. So another fun fact, and I need to do a whole video on this, is I was actually rear-ended about a month and a half ago. So I actually have not been driving Lyft. So my car has actually been less busy, and it's been sitting around more, and it's had some dippage. Now it's not diving yet, but I am keeping an eye on it. And so I'm kind of like, I have about 5,000 miles left on this warranty. I'm like, okay, if it's going to die, please die now so I can get a fourth pack and then figure out what to do after warranty. But because it's like either die now or be good forever. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Someone in the comments is going to be like, Tollak, you better sell that before you run out of warranty.
And I've seen those comments, and the problem is I'm upside down on the loan. So getting out of this car is not as easy as a lot of the people in the comments try to make it seem. So I'm still paying on this vehicle, and so the funny thing was, during the peak of like the used car market back in like mid 2022, I think it was, I was tempted to sell my Model Y because it was blue booking average for like $61,000. I paid $50,000 for it. So I'm like, but it's my only car, so I didn't do that. So now we're on the opposite side where the car value is lower than what I have left on the loan. It's not crazy bad, but it's definitely where I can't move into a new vehicle.
Yeah, so. That's the thing, is that car ownership is complicated, and it can try to be simplified, especially if you only have parts of the picture, but there's always more information to consider about your actual experience. And we're talking about warranty. What were the big benefits to you of this happening under warranty? Did you pay a dime?
I didn't pay anything. So I got the loaner. So I didn't pay anything, but because I couldn't ride share, I lost income due it, but I couldn't claim that. So out of pocket, nothing. Impact to life because of almost 2 weeks ish without my car. It did impact me. So
right. So has this impacted your long-term confidence in your Model Y, and just maybe influenced your trust in the longevity or reliabilities of EVs in general?
Well, I think because, even though we've talked about how the failures within the pack, and it's just a huge coincidence that I've had 2 go bad in the BMSs in the pack, there's still some thought that this might be a lemon, but I would have to have it go in for a third time and have so many days, etc. So I haven't been able to pursue the lemon side of this yet, and if I can ever do that. So part of me is, believing that it's this specific car, because of all the stories out there, like Kyle's and everybody else's, that they're at 150, almost 200,000 miles on the original pack, and it's doing fine. So my overall confidence in Tesla battery is still there. I'm just, because I've, the spidey sense in the back of my head about my particular car, I'm just like, it's hard to trust it, especially once I cross 120,000 miles.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So perhaps you haven't lost all faith. It was a bad luck that you've had, really. So on the other hand, have you noticed any improvements in the performance or the range or anything else that has shaped your experience on like EV maintenance or just your experience with this Model Y?
Well, so as I've also said, this is my third EV, and I have well over 200,000 miles of electric driving under my belt now, and yeah, I've pretty much enjoyed very little maintenance other than this, and that's what I try to talk about in the video, is that aside for the battery going bad, my car's been great. Now, granted, my seat, but that's because of my wear and tear destroying the seat, driving all day long in the hot sun. But beyond that, mechanically, my Model Y has been pretty great. Both motors are kicking great. I'm starting to probably need to get some suspension work done. But again, we're approaching 120,000 miles on the original suspension. My brakes are still good. So for 3 vehicles now, I've enjoyed very, very little maintenance.
That's pretty good. I think that, goes along with a lot of the sell of EVs, is that it's not a lot of maintenance. And it really does highlight that these kind of warranties, especially on the battery, even though it might be a freak, situation, but how important they are, because I can't imagine how much do you know how much a new EV battery replacement would have, you might as well buy a new Tesla, right?
Well, that's the thing is, my blue book is sitting somewhere around 25,000. I think it might be lower just because my paint's been kind of messed up. I don't have any PPF on it or anything. And if I were to get a brand new pack, like actually, new, I've heard that's around $20,000, and a new remanufactured pack out of warranty is about 13 or 14. So, it does get close to like, well, I might as well get a new car. But again, that incurs financing, and the interest rates right now are really crap and everything. So
they sure are.
And another, what might be a good topic for a future podcast is this recent news about Tesla partnering with Uber over like whatever incentives they have. It's like, okay, so hold the phone here. You're going to encourage people to ride share with these vehicles, as well as, Elon has talked about, making, self-driving taxis where the car is in use 5 times more than the average person. It's like, if we're going to have the vehicles go that direction, we need to talk about the warranties being, we might need a ride share specific warranty to go along with that incentive.
That's a good point. I think you had a lot of interesting takeaways that you did share on the guide channel too, that I would love to dive in a bit here, because you not only have like this kind of suggestion, which I think is great. I don't know if we have a specific lawyer, attorney who knows a lot about warranties that could dive into the aspects of that, but that would be really interesting. But also that, especially considering that you didn't necessarily get a new battery, that we don't know exactly what happens to the old batteries or how you get the new battery and what exactly it's made up of, but that you would kind of suggest maybe to Tesla, or at least for us to consider in this kind of aspect of battery replacement, but also that could maybe be expanded across the industry and taken by other automakers. So can you touch on those takeaways?
Yeah, so I just even I'm not aware. There might exist, an extended warranty you could buy, but that's usually something associated with dealerships trying to sell you more packages and whatnot. To my knowledge, there was not an extended warranty I could buy. I've also read from a lot of the comments that, warranties are based on the price of the vehicle, not necessarily the confidence in the parts. I think there's some truth to in between. There's got to be some confidence in how long the parts will last, calculations of when they might fail, as well as going along with the sale price of the car, because the short range ones, they have a 100,000 mile warranty. The long ranges have 120 on the 3s and Ys, and then S and X and Cybertruck have 150,000. So I'm just like, it is possible to have a better warranty. So, but again, especially if we're going to be encouraging people to use these vehicles more and or ride share with them, you got to give him the confidence, because the guy on Kid and Java's channel, sorry, I can't remember his name, but his pack failed at like 125,000 miles, and he did that in almost like just over a year. So if you're going to burn through a car in a year and then be left with not a warranty to take, if you're going to encourage this behavior, but then not followed up with the warranty. So that, again, we definitely need a bigger discussion about that, I think.
I think fairness to the user, to the owner, is something that you touched on too, which is, it's something to be considered. And I feel like it just hasn't been thought about maybe this deep, it's just kind of like, yeah, we'll apply it across the board. But these unique situations really do, come to beg the fairness of your experience, especially, your pretty unlucky experience.
Especially when the rest of the car is, well, aside from my own wear and tear on my seat, but the rest of the car is doing great. The motors are doing great, which also have 120,000. So who knows? Maybe I might have a drive unit go bad at like 128. Who knows? But in terms of like, the warranty is the battery is the thing that most people are concerned about when they want to go EV. And if they could address that with a better warranty system, even if it's tiers or who knows what, that would instill more confidence in people to drive, because a lot of people do like to drive more than 12,000 miles a year.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's a concern, and how to address it, not only with facts and figures, like your experience is not a normal one, and that battery degradation is different than battery failure, and all that stuff is important to address and make clear so that folks can really have the full picture when they're considering, okay, am I going to go electric? And then what does that look like? And maybe not get caught up, in big headlines about battery failure and everything, but also have some transparency from the automakers that like, this, these are the things that can happen. This is how they're dealt with, or perhaps improved warranties.
Especially if what's true about my old pack, whatever is still good from it is being salvaged. It's like, okay, I'm trading in a battery. I may not be trading all of it in, but I'm trading in maybe 2/3 of it or however much. Maybe it's only one row. So if we're trading material cost, maybe we just pay for the service, etc.
Because NIO, the Chinese automaker, has played with the idea of leasing batteries, and that is interesting. I think it adds on some complexities maybe, but what do you think about that? Leasing instead of buying the EV battery?
I think it's intriguing because, I think in their models, you can swap for like an extra cost. You can swap temporarily for a longer range pack than what you need for your daily needs. And that is kind of intriguing. But again, that comes with the complexity of having to swap that out, have the stations, a swapping station is much larger than a supercharger for one vehicle, per vehicle. And then, but when you start swapping batteries, you then, if you don't know which, the condition of the one that you were just given, unless it comes with some certain guarantees underneath the lease. So it is definitely intriguing, but it brings in its own complexities, especially if we're starting to talk about structural packs. If Tesla's going the way of structural packs, that's not exactly jiving with swapping out batteries,
That's true. It would come with a whole new restructuring of how the car is built. Like NIO's building them so that you can go to these battery swap stations. We've talked about a bit on the podcast, and Kyle has gone and swapped a battery in a NIO, and it was a really cool, quick experience, in and out, literally. But it'll be interesting to see how this goes ahead. You're right. It doesn't really seem like Tesla's moving in that direction. I think NIO is really the only automaker I know that has played very significantly with the battery swapping. Am I forgetting anyone?
To my current knowledge, that's all I can think of.
Yeah. So it doesn't seem to be very highly adopted, but it'll be also cool to see as battery chemistries change. Maybe there will be, it's not even improvements, because it doesn't seem like this is a huge problem, but it is an interesting conversation. I do love the battery talk and diving into your experience. And I really do hope that you do not have anything else that comes along, especially before your warranty is up, because, I think, you got rear-ended, 2 new batteries.
Oh my God.
I think you're good. You're good on your EV stories so far, besides good road trip stories.
Yeah, I want to tell more fun stories. And that's the other thing I mentioned. I'm kind of bummed that at my mileage, I can't tell the long-term degradation curve, how, like the one on Kyle's, because my swaps have interrupted that curve in the chart.
Yeah.
So
You're a new case study. Perhaps Tesla should take your Model Y whenever you're done with it. Maybe never, but study it and study what went on. Because I mean, I don't know about all the inner workings, but who knows? Who knows what the secret is there? I feel like if a third time happens, it's the EV. It's like there's something more going on.
Yeah, and interesting enough, it's on its original 12 volt still. I have not changed out to 12 volt, and it's still, from what I understand, the 12 volt is fine. So it's kind of the opposite. Most people have like 2 or 3 12 volts and one high voltage over this many miles.
Yeah.
But I definitely would love to talk to someone at Tesla, like Tesla official, not just sales advisors or friends of employees, etc., in secondhand, third-hand knowledge.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool to definitely. I think they would be interested too, because it is such a unique opportunity, to look at what has happened when this has happened twice. Is it really just the luck of the draw, or is something different going on? So let us know your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure you will already. But Tollak, it's clear, you didn't run your Tesla into the ground. This is a very weird situation that happened, and you do know some other people with things like that. But I think what is key here is warranty. Also being knowledgeable about how to charge your EV best, and even if it's just the basics, EV 101, about how to charge your battery for the longevity of it and the health of it, is great for everyone to know. But I don't think everyone needs to be an expert in battery technology to be.
You shouldn't have to, especially if we're trying to get people to switch over. They should not have to do that.
Yeah, it's true. You shouldn't have to spend the time and research that you did to. I mean, if you're interested, do it, but you shouldn't have to as a car owner. Just drive along and enjoy it. That's what we're trying to get from A to B with a smile on your face, right? Any big takeaways that we haven't touched on yet, Tollak, from your experience with your Model Y battery swaps?
I think we covered it. We've been going about 30 minutes now, so I think I do think we got everything I wanted to talk about. And we're not talking about regular degradation. This is pack failures.
Pack failure, very distinct. And of course, go over and check out Tollak's own narration of the story with a beautiful background, I have to say. That was a great video. And there are a lot of interesting discussions going on in the comments too. So thank you, Tollak, for taking the time to come onto the Out of Spec podcast and tell me about your story. I hope that next time we're talking about something that doesn't give you as much of a headache.
Same.
All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time on the Out of Spec podcast.